In our first video, The Fable of Complexity, we told the story of how the work of government, while noble and good, has become bogged down over years of misguided good intentions, mistakes, and CYA. That complexity and the pressure it causes has reached one of the most critical areas of government work, and today we are all struggling with a child welfare capacity crisis. For decades, we have heard the stories of out-of-control caseloads and children being shuffled from foster home to foster home. While always disturbing, they have been presented as isolated incidents occurring only in our most populated cities and states. But without a proven solution, this problem has spread across our country like a virus. And now, it seems everyone we talk to has more work than resources. These growing caseloads have grown into a full-blown capacity crisis. To deal with the crisis, some areas have banked on new technology to help them keep up. Our hope is that advancements in mobility, data mining, and even artificial intelligence will help alleviate the problems we face and allow us the time needed to work with at-risk children and families. Unfortunately, these high-dollar systems alone have not proven themselves successful enough to justify their price tag. More often than not, we're spending our budgets automating bad processes and missing the opportunities to redesign how we work in order to regain capacity. Other areas have tried to increase the number of people to do the work. While this would certainly increase our capacity, it has proven difficult to pull off. People are expensive, and most states don't have the budgets to support hiring even 5 or 10% more staff. Unfortunately, our research shows in many states that 10% more people wouldn't even begin to help, as they would need to double or even triple their numbers just to keep up. So if we cannot get more people, our next strategy is to get more out of the people we already have. Some managers have tried to motivate us through recognizing and rewarding good behavior. We set performance goals, and when they are met, here is the carrot. Other managers tend to motivate us through accountability or fear. Here are the same performance measures, meet them or get the stick. The problem is, we're not in the midst of a motivation crisis, the same way that we're not in the midst of a technology crisis or a people crisis. We have a capacity crisis. There is more work to do than we have time to do it. How much more? Our research shows the average child abuse assessment caseworker receives between 3 and 5 new allegations per week. Each of those requires an average of 20 hours to make a quality safety determination. That means every worker is getting between 60 and 100 hours of work every 40-hour work week. No motivational speech can make that math work. The real question isn't, are we behind? It's, how have we not seen more hurt kids? That answer is complex and can vary from state to state, but we have seen some combination of these 3 main things. First, dedicated staff. We all have those people who work a lot of undocumented overtime, or supervisors and trainers who are carrying an active caseload. These are the type of amazing people who work nights and weekends and take case files with them on family vacations. Second, we learn to juggle our priorities. We put kids we hope are safe on the back burner while we focus on unsafe kids. We wait to do documentation so we can go out and put eyes on a kid we haven't seen yet. And third, we shortcut. We shortcut the quality of our documentation, the quality of our staffings with supervisors, and when we get behind enough, eventually we shortcut on practice. We always want to do what we hope is in the best interest of the child, but when something has to give, these are the things that give. We simply don't have the time to do everything we want to do. But when we start to shortcut practice, we've gone from being behind to being in crisis. When we live in crisis mode, we are forced to treat everything like an emergency. Those back burner cases, the low priority ones, now come up against a closure deadline and demand immediate attention. For children that we've removed from harm, court dates dictate documentation and demand decisions be made. And all the while, new reports of children who may be in danger demand that we put them first. In crisis mode, everything demands our attention. In an attempt to bring order to the chaos, we begin to manage deadlines and emergencies. And what gets lost is our ability to manage the work and to see that a lot of this pain is actually self-inflicted. The secrets to dealing with this capacity crisis will not be found in emergency management. It will be found by addressing the fundamental math problem that got us here, and then learning how to manage that math. The lopsided 60 to 120 hours of work per 40-hour work week is the first thing we need to balance out. But we cannot shortcut practice. We must maintain the integrity of our safety model in order to assure quality decisions. In other words, we cannot cut the real work without putting children at risk. Luckily, a lot of those work hours are not the real work of child safety. In fact, most of it has less to do with child safety and everything to do with CYA. In some states, documentation of the model accounts for nearly half the work that a case requires, yet less than 60% of that work is ever used. The first step to getting out of this crisis is to build a world where a trained caseworker can meet with the family, follow your safety model exactly, and then build documentation designed to be used and make an informed decision in 8 to 12 hours instead of the 20. Once we have addressed the work time math, then we need to learn to manage the workflow. We've become accustomed to managing caseloads, but we miss case flow, assuring that the kids are not sitting stagnant in our systems. We know how many cases are open and how many cases close by the deadline, but we don't know why and exactly what is needed to move open cases forward with purpose. Managing workflow is vital to getting out of the capacity crisis because when work sits, we end up paying a work penalty. It's like when you don't make a credit card payment, the interest and the amount you ultimately owe grows. In the same way, when we don't make timely decisions, we ultimately have to do more work per case. Additional monthly documentation and court reports, unnecessary meetings, and placement transfers are all penalties that we pay for not managing the flow of the work. The goal is not speed at the expense of quality or safety, but assuring that the time needed to make a quality decision is not drug out over weeks and months because we are too focused on emergency management. To get out of the capacity crisis, we need to learn to do both, manage the work time and the workflow. So why aren't we better at this? Well, that's easy. Managing work time and workflow are not child welfare functions. They don't seem to have anything to do with a successful safety model or assuring quality risk assessments. They are not things that you care about or things that you went to school to learn about. They have nothing to do with safe kids and everything to do with running factories. It's just not the work that we do. But they mean everything to getting out of our capacity crisis. It's everything we need to do in order to do what is most important to us, keep kids safe. And it's what we do. We do work time and workflow in government better than anyone else in the world. We're passionate about capacity. We know how to work with you to assess where you need it, how to find it, and how to maximize your gains to get the most out of the resources you have. If you're in crisis, let us know about it. We want to help increase your capacity to do more good.